I wonder if you could answer a question for me. It's just a small question, just a very easy question. Only I'm a little bit confused. Are we going to war? Are we already at war? You know, with Russia. You know, are we at war? Because I keep hearing all these rumours, you see, all these rumours from various people across the world. People email me and say, oh, do you know, we are at war with Russia. Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry, nobody told me. Thing is, you see, I don't actually have a television, which is a disadvantage these days because you can't keep up with the mainstream lies that go on. And as I haven't got a television and I don't listen to the radio or anything like that, and I'm very circumspect with what I watch online as well. So I don't know if we've suddenly been and declared war. I don't know anything about it. I do know, because people have told me, of course, I do know that Rishi Sunak, is he still the Prime Minister? Is he still there? Is he? That's a surprise, isn't it? I do know that he's interested in national service. Yes, he's interested in that because I know he was quite keen on conscription a while ago. So he was keen on that. Not so keen on conscientious objectors. I don't think he's mentioned much about that. They haven't put that into their new manifesto. That you know they're going to declare a war. Is it in the manifesto, by the way? Is it in the Conservatives' manifesto or the Labour's manifesto or any of the political parties' manifesto? Because I gather that the idea is that once the new election is done, you know, the poll where they go to the public and they ask the public, you know, what do you think about this party and what do you think about that party? Come out and have a vote, and we'll ignore what you say and we'll put into government what we want because we are dictators, of course. But anyway, let's put that aside for the moment. Presumably in their manifesto, they will be telling us that they have an intention to go to war. That is the intention. Or because what I've heard is that after the election, that's it. That's when we're going to go to war. So presumably they've got to tell you. I don't know if they've told you, because nobody's come knocking on my door. I mean, I would have thought that if the government want to go to war, there's certain protocols they have to do. I thought they'd have to actually come to the people and say, look, this is the situation. It's a bit sticky over there with Russia. They're sort of bully boys and they're, you know, nasty people. Not that I've actually got anything against the Russians. They seem to be quite nice people generally. I mean, OK, some of the leaders might not be up to spec, as you might say, but generally most ordinary everyday people, you know, your innocent men and women, they're all quite charming, really, aren't they? They're just hard-working people, want to get on with their lives. But some of the leaders in various countries, like ours, don't seem to be on that wavelength. They seem to be a bit more tyrannical and a bit more dictatorial and want to make life hard for the people. Want people to sort of go over the top and sacrifice their lives, don't they? And I'm not sure that there would be an appetite for war. Do you think there would be an appetite for war these days? I mean, back then, let's see, in the First World War, over 100 years ago now, people were very much inspired to fight for king and country, weren't they? Oh, yes. Oh, we'll go and fight for the king. Oh, yeah, we believe in the royals. We believe in all of that. Yeah, we'll go and fight for king and country. Not quite sure how many people would fight for the king these days, actually. I mean, have we still got a king? I thought he had some sort of disease now, apart from on his fingers, of course. Is it turning into a lizard? Is that the problem he's got? There was some sort of disease that he's announced and, he's not very well at the moment and maybe, you know, replaced really by something else. Maybe a lookalike, who knows? I don't really know. I'm not really following it too much with the royals. I know Kate's had the same issue, hasn't she? She sort of issued lookalikes because she had a bit of a problem. But anyway, let's get back onto the issue. The Second World War, of course, there was a lot more. There was quite a lot of patriotism, wasn't there, back then? We had old Winston Churchill. We were going to fight them on the beaches and the landing grounds. We'll never surrender. I didn't actually see him fighting on the beaches or the landing grounds personally. He sort of managed to get everybody else to do it. But that was fine because people could see the dark forces then gathering around all through Europe. You could see them coming out and you're thinking, blimey, we're all on our own here. We better defend ourselves. So there was a reason for that. We've got to help the bankers out, haven't we? Because the bankers do like a bit of war because they'll fund both sides and basically come the better off. But there was also, as I say, a lot of patriotism in the Second World War. People were quite prepared. I say it's absolute shower can't come in here, and they were flying in their lovely Spitfires and Hurricanes and all of that, and the bombers, and did their very best, under the illusion that it was a noble thing to do. But these days, I'm not sure that patriotism is here. We've had our country, and our nationality sort of blitzed blithereens. Can't even say the word. Splithereens it might have been, but it doesn't really matter. People don't seem to have that national pride that they once did, because if they do, apparently that's far right, especially in England. If you're proud of being English, that's extreme far. Oh, blimey. Yeah, so I don't know that people, and we've got so many people from different parts of the world living over here and calling themselves British, and I'm not quite sure whether they really sort of care one way or another. I mean, it's different if the Russians were firing stuff right at us, and that might make people go, oh, okay, we'll do something. And by the way, I don't really know whether it's we declaring war on Russia or Russia's declared it on us. Could someone just clarify that? Are we actually at a war? Is the wars going on? I've heard people say, oh, we've been at war with Russia for a long time, but as I say, I don't remember anyone actually asking me if I wanted to do that. Of course it would be quite fearful for the Russians if we were to go to war with them. After all, we've got so many members of the army and so many members of the navy and so many people in the Royal Air Force. I mean, if you bunched them all together, I mean, it would be a terrifying spectacle in that, they'd probably take up a whole tennis court, wouldn't they? Let's face it. So, I mean, the Russians, they're a tiny little country with barely anybody to fight, haven't they? So, that would terrify them. So, it'd be silly if they were to declare war on us. Although we have been a bit stupid, haven't we? I mean, the elites, not us, not you and I, because, I mean, we're peace-loving people, aren't we? We don't want to get involved with any of this. But these people in power who seem to sort of take our best interests at heart, the kind, benevolent, very thoughtful Prime Minister and all that, sending money, our tax money, overseas to various different war theatres. It's all theatre, by the way, theatre with the proscenium arch, and it's all made up, and curtains and all that kind of stuff. They call it theatre, don't they? Yeah, it's kind of, the clue is in the word, isn't it, really? It's all a bit of theatre. And they send all our money over there, and for some reason, that money goes to kill men, women and children, innocent men, women and children in the process. So I'm not really sure why they do that, really, because I don't think I've sanctioned that. I've not given my approval. I've not consented to any of this. I suppose that's one way why I am very reluctant to pay any of the taxes, because obviously if the taxes are funding that sort of thing, then that's a bit tyrannical, isn't it? Makes me aiding and abetting terrorists, which is actually against the law. So that's interesting. Paying your taxes is then, aiding and abetting, and is actually against the law. So maybe we shouldn't fund these people. But if we are going to war, and if we're in a war, isn't there some sort of protocols? They've got to make an announcement, let us know. After all, we've got to prepare ourselves. I know there was something the government said the other day about, make sure you've got enough food, for 3 days. Which is quite handy, because should the Russians send over nuclear weapons, I think it's a bit shorter than 3 days these days that they go off, don't they? It's usually about 4 minutes. Was in the 60s and 70s, as I remember, when we all had the paper bags ready to put over our head and we would get under a bed. Second World War, we had Morrison shelters, although trying to get into Morrison's these days, you've got to get past all the cameras and the security, so maybe you don't want to do that. So I'm not quite sure what people will do. But yeah, 3 days of food supplies. They did mention that, didn't they? So maybe we are at war. I don't know. It's all very confusing. But I thought there would be something to do with the embassies. Haven't they got to sort of frog march the Russians out of the embassy over here, and the British embassy in Russia would have to come away, and they'd all go, hello, how are you? Yeah, very nice. Always another war, isn't it exciting? We haven't had a war for a while. Yeah, very good. Anyway, we'll see you next week, or not, depending on which one gets blown up the first and whether the earth cracks up in half or whatever happens. I don't know. I think half the plan is to sort of wipe out a lot of the people, isn't it? We've heard about the depopulation, and war is always good, apart from the bankers, they won't get depopulated, but it's just those useless eaters. which for some reason they're calling us, the ordinary everyday people, rather than them, the parasites. I mean, they seem to be the useless eaters because they can't seem to well, they can't seem to stay peaceful at all. They seem to sort of get aggravated at the slightest thing. So anyway, if there is a bit of a war, I wonder if you wouldn't mind just letting me know, because I'm sure that there are certain protocols and certain things legally that we're supposed to do. Like, first of all, tell the people. Tell the people what we're supposed to do. I imagine we'll get that little emergency thing they tested out last year on our phones, you know, and saying, oh, by the way, just to let you know, we are at war, and these days technology is so good, you don't get a 4-minute warning, you get a 4-second warning. If it had been a 4-minute warning, at least that would have some advantage, isn't it? You could tune into your favourite YouTuber, at least for those last 4 minutes, and see what's going on and go, oh, look, that's an interesting video, I'll watch that. Oh, it's a shame it's 5 minutes. I won't quite see the ending, but that may not matter. Anyway, if there is a war, could somebody please let me know? I don't watch the television, I don't watch all this, I don't engage in all that fear-mongering. And, you know, life's so much better for not doing so. Thank you very much.